Hello learners, welcome to our session today. I am your instructor, CPA Aringo Frederick. In our class today, my good students, it is a continuation of what we started earlier on. Recall, in our last class, we had introduced the concept of performance measurement and evaluation. We had also talked of the concepts to do with the responsibility centers, and we had looked at methods that we normally use to evaluate our performance within the responsibility centers. And these methods that we had talked about in our last class, remember, we mentioned we'll be talking of concepts to do with residual income. We had talked of the concept to do with residual income. Talk of return on investment, commonly known as ROI, or return on capital employed. We also talked of the component as 𝑬𝐻, economic value added. So these are the methods that we mentioned we will be using to measure our performance in our responsibility center. So today's class, my good students, is just a matter of us expounding that knowledge by looking at a question. And the question that we are going to talk about in our class today, that is a question which was examined in May 2016, question number 5, Advanced Management Accounting. So kindly, if you have that paper, let us look at this question, May 2016, question number 5. And if you don't have that question, I'm going to share that question with us. Let us use that question to analyze this concept of the methods to evaluate our performance in our responsibility centers. So I'm going to share that question with you. Take a screenshot of that question. Let us use that question to analyze the whole concept that I want us to look at today. So this is our question, my good student. This is our question here. This is our question. May 2016, question number 5. May 2016, question number 5. May 2016, question number 5. 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 So this is what you are told. Part 1 of the question, you are asked to discuss the application of the Fitzgerald and Moon's building block model in performance measurement with a particular focus to service organization. Remember, this is a concept that we had talked about. This is a concept that we had talked about under non-financial performance measures, where we talked of balanced scorecard, we talked of performance pyramid, we talked of Fitzgerald and Moon's building block, and also there's that aspect of performance prism. This is what we had looked at in our concepts when you are looking at non-financial performance measures. So I believe that when you're done with that, part B of the question, you are told that the following information relates to investment opportunities available to Tumaini Limited. The following information relates to investment opportunities available to Tumaini Limited. We are given our investment opportunity A, B, up to E. We are given our annual profit, and you have our cost of investment. In our additional information, we are told, additional information note 1, that the company currently has profits for 1,250,000 and investment of 5 million. Note number 2, we are told the minimum required rate of return of the company is 20%. Then note number 3, the company will only invest in projects that will improve on the current performance. Talk of required. The return on investment and residual income for each of the investment opportunities. Part 2 of the question, based on the performance measures above, rank the investment opportunities in their order of preference. Comment on the project or projects that the company should invest in. Hint, Select the projects or projects that will maximize the final profitability. So given such a question, my good students, what's the first thing that you should do? You should smile. The first thing that you should do is to smile. Because if you have the concept right, and you've gone through the first video that we did when you introduced the concept of these methods of evaluating responsibility center performance, you should be very good. You should be very good. So I believe you've taken a screenshot, so let us proceed after you've taken that screenshot. So this is what you asked. We were asked to determine our residual income and talk of return on investment. So my good student, the first thing that you should always have in mind is to grasp the concept. Because if we have the concept right, applying this will be very, very easy. Don't just cram the formula. Maybe if you're asked to work out return on investment, yes, you know very well that the formula is operating profit of net assets. Then what? You should grasp the concept. Because the moment you have the concept right, that's the point that you will be building your foundation. Because what you are doing right now is not only for exams purposes, but ideally is to assist you to analyze and internalize these measures, which you are going to use it in a practical manner or in the practical world. So kindly let us grasp the concept right. Because if you have the concept right, you'll find that these elements will be very, very simple. So maybe just doing a quick recap on what you did when you are talking of return on investment, my good students. Because examiner wants us to determine return on investment and also the concept to do with residual income. So when you're asked what is return on investment, what will you say? When you're asked return on investment, what will you say? Ideally, return on investment, you normally tend to look at, probably in this case because you're dealing with divisions, we normally tend to look at divisional profits expressed as, or rather expressed in form of what? Net assets. You normally tend to look at division profit expressed as percentage of what? Of the net assets. So return on investment, what I want us to look at ideally, we just want to look at these profits, which should be expressed as a percentage of what? As a percentage of net asset. So expressing our profit as a percentage of net asset, what are we going to do? We are going to talk of our profit. We are expressing this as a percentage of net assets here, or term it as what? As capital employed. As capital employed. As capital employed. So we are talking of, I am expressing our profit as a percentage of net assets or capital employed. That is what you are terming it as what? As return on investment. You can also term it as what? As talk of return on capital employed. Return on capital employed or return on investment. We normally tend to look at it by taking our profit, we divide by our net assets, of course, times capital employed. If I need it in percentage, of course, I'm going to multiply by what? By 100. So I am expressing my profit as a percentage of net asset. That is what you're terming it as what? As return on investment. What about residual income, my good students? Remember this one, we had already looked at this earlier on. Whenever we'll be looking at residual income, what I'll want you to stick at the back of your mind, my good students, when you're talking of residual income, ideally, we just want to look at that amount left to the firm after providers of capital, they have taken their share, right? So in this case, ideally, you normally tend to say that this is the amount left to the firm. Amount left to the firm. Amount left to the firm. After amount left to the firm, after providers of capital, after providers of capital have been paid. After providers of capital have been paid. After the providers of capital have been paid. So this is what will give us what is known as what? Residual income. Understand that concept clearly. On residual income, I just want to look at, yes, we had those who had invested in the firm. So we have our profit. After we have our profit, I'm going to pay the providers of capital. So the amount that you are going to receive, or the amount that you are going to remain with, is what we are terming it as what? Is what you are terming it as residual income. Is what you are terming it as residual income. And that's why you are talking of the amount left after the providers, amount left to the firm after the providers of capital have been paid. Very key for us to understand that. And on this case, how will you determine our RI? How will you determine our RI? To determine our RI, you said, first of all, it's upon us to identify our profit, right? So we're going to talk of operating profit or income. Talk of operating profit here, operating profit slash income. I'm going to take our operating profit slash income. We are going to deduct whatever that I am paying for, or whatever that we paid our investors. So in this case, ideally, we normally tend to talk of what? Our net assets or operating assets. So in this case, we are talking of our net assets here. Net assets times our target rate of return times our rate of return times our rate of return times our rate of return. So our net assets, or alternatively you can term it as what? As capital employed. So I'm taking our capital employed times the rate of return. This will give us what I am supposed to pay the investors. Now, taking our income or profit, we deduct what I'm supposed to pay our investors. That is what will give us what is known as what? As residual income. That is what will give us our residual income. So ideally, that is a concept that we'll be looking at. You'll find that it's not only a matter of just maybe cramming the formulas. It's all about you understanding the concept. Because if you have the concept right, as I've mentioned, it will be very easy for us to work out anything when it comes to computation of these questions. So we've gone through these cases, and in our question for May 2016, the examiner wants us to compute our residual income and our return on investment. So how are we going to work it out the moment we have analyzed our what the required is? So looking at that case, I need to compute our ROI for each investment. So we'll be required to compute our return on investment, and I'll also be required to compute our what? Our residual income. I'll also be required to compute our residual income. So how many projects were we given in this case, my good students? How many projects were we given? If you can clearly look at our projects given here, we are given that should be, look at part B, investment opportunity. I'm having of how many projects? We do have of 5 projects, A, B, and C. So that is the projects given. So I'm going to have our projects A, B, and C. So projects given here, I'm having A, B, C, D, and E. So we have project A, project B, project C, project D, and project E. These are the projects that you are given, right? So talk of what? Talk of our return on investment. You're talking of our profit or income. We divide by our net assets. In our question, my good students, look at that case. I was given our annual profit and I was given our cost of investment. So it is a cost of investment is the one that you are going to take as what? As our capital employed. This is what we this is what we injected in this firm. So for project A, we have our profit and we have our capital employed or net asset. This is what you're talking about, my good students. This is what you're talking about. We are saying that investment opportunity, I'm having our annual profit, and you have what? Our cost of investment. So how will we determine our return on investment? That will be very simple, because like for project A, for project A, we are going to take our annual profit, which is 300, right? You can clearly see it there. We divide by the cost of investment. In that case, I'm given what? 900,000, correct? Project B, we are going to take 300,000. We divide by, of course, 1.6. All this you are multiplying by 100, right? Talk of project C, we have 240,000, if you can clearly see, to 40. We divide by 1.2 times 100. And D, we have 280,000. We divide by cost of investment. You can clearly see I was given 800,000 by 100. Then what about E? E, I'm having 260,000. We divide by 1 million times 100. So that is what you are given there. And I believe you can clearly see like that. I believe you can just clearly see it the way it is. That is what you are given there. So you are just taking our annual profit, we divide by the cost of investment given here. The cost of investment. So it is a cost of investment. That is the point or the component that you've taken as what? As part of our capital employed. So I believe you are all good. So let us continue. So that is what we have there. So let us divide that and see what will be our ROI, what will be our return on investment. So the first case, you can clearly see I'm having 300 we divide by 900 times 100. That should give us 33%, right? On my case, I'm getting 33%. For the first case, that is 33.33%. The other one, I'm having 300 we divide by 1.6 times 100. I'm getting 18.75. I'm getting 18.75%. 18.75%. The other one, we are talking of 240,000. We divide by 1,200. I'm getting 20%. 280. We divide by 800. I'm getting 35%. 35%. Then the other one you are talking of 260 divide by 1 million. I'm getting 26%. So in that case, my good students, we are done with what? We are done with the first one, return, talk of return on investment. We are done with return on investment. What about residual income? My good students? For residual income, the same concept will apply. The same concept will apply, because this is what we'll be taking. I know very well I should be having my operating profit. We less net assets times what? The rate of return. We less net asset times the rate of return. So talk of our residual income here. It is as simple as that. You'll find that these concepts, ideally, they're usually very, very simple. So our RI, I need my operating profit. Operating profit in A, we can clearly see we had 300,000. So I'm having the 300,000 here. We have the 300,000 here. We less what? I'm going to less our operating, or rather our net asset, which in this case is the same as talk of our capital employed, which we had 900,000. So I'm going to have 900,000 times required rate of return in our question. The rate of return given, I was given what percentage. If we can share this question, you can see that I was given this rate to be, that is note number 2, additional information note 2. The minimum required rate of return of the company is 20%. So we should be talking of what? Times 20%. Times 20%. The other case, we should be talking of how much? I should be talking of 300 my good students. That should be 1.6 times 20%. The other one, I'm having my profit, which is 240,000. 240,000. We less 1.2 times 20%. Then we have 280,000. We less 800,000 times 20%. Then the last one for E, project E, we do have 260,000. We less, that should be 1 million times 20%. So this should give us our residual income. That should give us our residual income. As simple as that. So therefore, the first case, we are going to take our 300,000. We less 900,000 times 0.2. That should give me a figure of 120,000. The other one, you should be talking of 300,000. We less 1.6, my good students, times 0.2. That should give me a loss of 20,000. I'm getting a loss of 20,000 if we've done it correctly, because you are talking of 300,000 minus into 1.6 times 0.2. I'm getting a loss of 20,000, right? The other one, we should be talking of 240,000 minus, we are talking of 240,000. That is times 0.2. So talk of 240,000 minus 1.2 times 0.2. That should give us 0, right? I'm getting 0 here. We are getting 0. The other one, we should be talking of 280,000. We less 800,000 times 0.2 to give me a figure of 120,000. 260,000. We less 1 million times 0.2. That should give us 60,000, being our residual income. The amount that I am going to remain with after we have paid the providers of capital. This is what you are terming it as residual income. This is what you are terming it as residual income. So basically, this is what the examiner wanted us to compute, imagine. Just like that for the first case. So long as you master the concept right, these questions, they are always very simple and easy to understand. So long as you've mastered the concept right. So this is what we do have for the first case. The second question, what were we asked, my good students? The second question, what were we asked? Look at this case. The second question, part B of the question, you are told, based on the performance measures above, rank the investment opportunities in their order of preference. Comment on the projects that the company should invest in. Hint, select the projects that will maximize the final profitability. Excuse. So given such, we should just smile. We should just smile. Because already at this point, you've already prepared almost everything. So part 2 of the question, the examiner is asking us, we need to advise this company on the project that they should invest in based on their profitability. So the moment I'm given like that, the first thing that should click at the back of our mind is for us, first of all, to identify the return on investment for the company as a whole. What were we given? Regardless of the project that we're investing, what was that kind of return on investment that we had for the company as a whole? So that after that, we are going to compare with each and projects that we do have here. And in that case, the examiner will always guide us. Like in our case, take for example, look at this case. I want us all to go to part, look at note number 1. The company currently has profits of 1,250,000 and investment of 500 and investment of 5 million and investment of 5 million and investment of 5 million. So my good student, the first thing that I should do in that case is for us to determine what will be the current return of the firm. The current return on investment of the firm. What will be the current return on investment of the firm? So, because the question wanted us to advise. So, what will be our current return on investment of this firm? What will be the current return on investment of the firm? The current return on investment of this firm, I can clearly see I was given a profit of 1,250,000, right? And the capital employed or the injected capital, I was given a figure of what? 5 million. If you can clearly see that note number 1. So, even before we invested in these projects, what was the rate of investment? What was the kind of talk of a return on investment of this firm? Return on investment of this firm, we've taken the profit of 1,250, 1,250,000. We divide by the capital that I was given of 5 million, just as per what the examiner had told us in that question. What you are told in that question, that note 3, or rather note 1, the company currently has profits of 1,250,000 and investment of 5 million. That is what we've taken here. So that should give us a return on investment of, I should be having 1,250,000 divide by 5 million. That should give us a return on investment of 25%. Of course, you multiply by 100 to give us 25%. To give us 25%. So currently, the return on investment of the company is 25%. Surely, if you are to advise this company, given the projects that we do have, will we go for the project with a return of investment of less than 25%? No, we won't go with that project. With any project that has a return on investment of 25%, will not consider that. So this is what you are going to do. This is what we are going to do. We need to advise this company. We need to advise the company on the project that they should undertake. So we need to advise the company on project that they should undertake. Advice on the projects of the investment or projects that they should undertake. So currently our return on investment is 25%. That is our current return on investment, 25%. So having mentioned that one, what are we going to consider, my good students? This is what we are going to talk about. I should be having this case. So our current return on investment. Talk of current income, talk of current, talk of maybe this is income, and you are talking of what? Our investment. We are talking of our income, investment, and probably in this case you can talk of what? Our residual income. Currently we are talking of the three main elements. Talk of our current income, so we should be having this case. I'm having our current income. Current income, the company had what? 1,250,000 with an investment of 5 million, 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 with an investment of 5 million. Before we look at residual income, let us consider that. Then on this case, my good students, I want us to look at the investment that has more than 25%. These are the investments that you are going to invest in. Like for example, if I can clearly see here, based on priorities, project B gave us 35%. So if I was to invest, I'm going to start with project D, which gave us a return on investment of 35%. And on that, what was the income? What was the income on that? The income on that, I was given 280,000, right? So I'm going to have the income of that. So we should be talking of 1250 plus 280,000. 280,000. Let me see if it will fit. So 1250 plus 280,000. That should give us how much, my good student? That should give me a figure of 1250 plus 280,000 to give us 1,530,000. Right? What about our investment here? Our investment, I'm going to take the 5 million, we add the investment that we'll be having for D, which is 800. So this should give us our 5.8. After you're done with that, the next project to undertake would be the project with the next highest rate of return, which is project A. So I'm going to add project A here. Project A, in this case, I'm having 1530. The summation of the income, we are going to add the income of project A. In this case, we had 300,000. So that should give us how much? That should give us 1530 plus the 300,000. That should give us 1,830,000. Then our income there, or rather our investment, I'm having 5.8 plus the investment of project A, we had 900. So I'm going to add 900 to give us 6.7. Then the next project with the highest rate of with the highest return, I'm having, that should be project E. So project E, we should be having 1830. We are going to add the return or income on that, which you had 260,000. So I'm going to have 260,000. So we have 1830 plus 260,000. That should give me 2,090,000. What about our investment? 6.7. We are going to add 6.7. We are going to add the 1 million there. 1 million. So therefore, I should be talking of 7.7. Just up to this point, you can advise this company, my good students. So with the order of priority, I'm going to start with project D, project A, project E, based on the order of priority and according to what we've computed here. Remember, maybe a good student will ask, Mwalimu, why are you basing it on return on investment? Because this is a factor that we'll always be looking while analyzing our projects. Because remember, we are looking at, I'm not going to consider the residual income per se at this point. Because return on investment, this is what will give us a guide on advising on what projects we should undertake, on what project we should undertake, on what projects we should undertake, on what projects we should undertake. So that is what we are required to do. So using the same concept, my good students, though we are done with the question up to this point, but I want you to proceed and try work out residual income. Like the first case, what will be our residual income in our current investment? In our current investment, determine our residual income. In this case, we should be taking our operating income, which is 1,250,000. We are going to less our net asset, which in this case we've taken it to be 5 million, times our required rate of return, which in that case we had, we were given a figure of 0.2, right? So you'll find that the first case here, you should be having a residual income of 250,000. Because you're just taking it as simple as this. You're taking it as simple as this. Don't complicate these things, my good students. Don't complicate these things. We are saying that we are taking the current. We have our operating profit, which is 1,250,000. We less what? Our capital employed, which was 5 million. Times the required rate of return minimum, which you are given 0.2. So if we work it out, you'll find that I'm going to have 250,000. So the same concept, I want you guys to apply it on this other case. Like say, for example, actually I'm going to do this and I'll find myself doing all of this, right? So we're talking of our income, which is 1530 total. We less our required 5.8 times the aspect to do with minimum rate, which I was given 0.2, which was given 0.2. So you'll find that in this case you can talk of what? 370,000. How have we arrived at that? We've just taken the income, which is 1530, right? We less what? We less our investment, which is 5.8, times minimum rate of return, which is 0.2, to give us 370,000. So I want you guys to do for A, N, and E. So that next time when we meet, I'll also want us to handle another illustration question, which will open our mind wide when it comes to the aspect of appraisal, when it comes to the aspect of performance measurement and evaluation. So thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session. And in the event that you have any question, you can always contact us using the phone number just below here. Always contact us. So thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session.